What's up, everybody? P. Pardo here from Comic Book Users. Welcome to another episode of the show. It's inside the cover of another Warren magazine, right? We're still going through that haul that I picked up a couple months ago. Trying like once a week or once every other week, giving you a little inside the cover of a cool old issue of Eerie or Creepy or Vampirella or whatever it might be. So today we're going to take a look at issue number 34 of Eerie from 1971. Look at that amazing Boris Vallejo cover. Yes, Boris Vallejo. I think I mistakenly said Gallego the other day. That's the Spanish in me. I don't know what I was talking about. But anyway, Boris Vallejo, or Vallejo, however he says his last name. We always just call him Boris. Look at that cover. All right. 60 cents. Just think about 60 cents for a comic or magazine back in 1971. Somewhat pricey, right? But for all you get in these, that's really not all that much money. So yeah, so they got the cool front cover there. And then we have this Eerie's Monster Gallery. Generally speaking, it's just kind of like a nice, cool piece of artwork. But here you have like a little mini story about some guy who comes up with this experiment to create life out of stone. And as he does that, the stones kind of turn into these insect creatures. And then as he's getting ridiculed by the scientific establishment, his laboratory blows up along with him and all his secrets, and that's the end of the story. Like four little panels. And that's it. I'm like, that's all you got? And even Cousin Eerie says, "There, wasn't that fun? Hope you didn't get burned up if your results weren't quite as electrifying as Cross's." In other words, the results of the story just doesn't really go anywhere. So I hope you're not disappointed. Whatever. So here we've got editor and publisher James Warren, of course, managing editor Billy Graham, contributing editor Nicola Cuti, cover Boris, artists in this issue Jamie Brokaw, Ernie Colon, Carlos Garzon, Frank McLaughlin, Mike Royer, Tom Sutton, Alan Weiss, and Tony Williamson, and writers in this issue Ernie Colon, Al Hewitson, Buddy Saunders, Steve Skeets, Tom Sutton, Alan Weiss, and Paul Wilson. Got a whole host of stories there. And then, of course, we got fan mail, readers page, right? Editor's comments. And then we start on the first story, which is actually a fun story called Parting is Such a Sweet Horror, art and story by Tom Sutton. So here's a story about this guy, this kind of pathetic dude, and his very young and attractive wife, who apparently he grew up in this big, old, dark mansion, and he had a brother. All his family is presumed dead, and he, I guess, is set to inherit the mansion and all its millions. But he's got to, I'll read a little bit of stuff here. So, Martin Bovero is cringing with fear down there. You'd never guess he was about to enter the house he grew up in. This is Briarcliff, the ancestral mansion of the ancient Borvo family. Martin and Fletcher Borvo were born here and lived within these melancholy walls more or less happily until they discovered parting is such a sweet horror. So apparently he's got to go back in to enter the mansion one last time. Then this very attractive woman who's now married to him is only really with him because she wants his millions. Gee, where have we heard that story before, right? So they have to go back into the mansion. He's very frightened of going back into the mansion because he's afraid that the ghost of his dead brother Fletcher is still in the mansion, and because he hears him all the time, he talks to him, and apparently they were twins. So he's like, there's this kind of connection between us. I always hear him. He always speaks to me. I feel him. So I don't want to go in there because I don't know what I'm going to find. But she insists they go in there. So all the doors and windows are locked, save for one. So they crawl in the one, and then they wind up, they're in like this tunnel, right? This very tiny tunnel, and as they're going through, he's of course frightened, and she's pushing him through. The stuff is falling from the ceiling, closing them in. They're getting claustrophobic, so they start weaving their way through these tunnels. What kind of house has tunnels right by one of the windows? I don't know. It's kind of strange if you ask me. So the whole first half of the story is them going through these tunnels in the house, and him absolutely freaking out, saying, "Don't you hear his voice? I keep hearing Fletcher's voice," what have you. And then they come upon like a little wraith, a skeleton type of thing, and then eventually they come into a room, and there is Fletcher. Okay, Fletcher is right here. Fletcher is this gigantic kind of beast with tentacles and all this other stuff, and of course Martin is like, oh my god, I told you he is alive. So he says, it's him, and the girl, the wife, is like, oh my god, Martin, and her name is what is her name again? Goldie. And she goes, oh god, Martin, what is that? And then the brother Fletcher says, Martin, such a long time I have been reaching out for you, seeking to make contact. I knew you would come. The secret, of course, is that Martin and Fletcher, even though they were twins, never got along. And Martin killed, at least he thought he did, killed his brother Fletcher. So he had this sinking feeling that he never actually died, right? That's one of the reasons why he didn't go back. And so Goldie says to Martin, how did he get like that? And Fletcher says, can't you answer her, Martin? Can't you recall those times when I was in contact, linked to you, when I reached for you with my yearning for life, the life you took from me, nearly took from me? Remember the hunger pangs, Martin, the excruciating pain, the strange taste in your mouth, the awful odors. Remember, Martin. And like, what is he talking about? I survived, Martin. I cheated you of your triumph. I survived at any cost. And then Goldie thinks to herself, he can't move. He won't cheat me out of the life I planned so carefully, not now. So she's like thinking, all right, I want to get these millions, right? So what do I got to do? So she goes and grabs this like giant hunk of wood with a point at the end of it. And she's like, let me kill this creature here. So she goes, you're dead, you're entombed in here, and you're dead, and you'll stay dead. So she goes. It's like a big giant stake. She goes to stab him. It doesn't really work, right? She goes, his flesh, it's like burning acid as she's trying to penetrate. She just goes sinking right into Fletcher, and Fletcher's body just like kind of like molds around her, and he basically just eats her. So Martin is like in complete and utter horror and shock here, and and all of a sudden he notices he can taste all this funky stuff in his mouth. So that's what, because they have the link that they're twins, every time Fletcher eats something, Martin can taste it. So he's absolutely horrified now. He realizes what all these weird tastes have been going on in his mouth. So he goes, this link will still exist stronger than ever. What do I have to do? You should have been dead. You should have been, and the link would have been severed at last. And so Martin is like, now Martin just ate his wife, Goldie. He's like, I want more. Bring me more food. And he goes, I would have had Goldie and the money, but you kept it away from me like always have, Fletcher. That's why I had to kill you, Fletcher, because with you alive, there was never anything for me. You won't cheat me this time, dear brother. Whatever psychic link that existed between us, I sever now. So he grabs an axe. Of course, he knows right where the axe is, right? And goes to go chop his brother. How do you think this is going to end? He's chopping away. Ain't nothing happening. All these weird appendages and things, everything just keeps growing back again. So what does Fletcher do? He kind of grabs a hold of his brother, throws him against the wall. He goes, I forgive you, Martin. It's like, whereas you brought death to me, I promise you life. You will live, Martin. Oh, yes, I am a good brother. I will not let you die. You will get hungry enough to eat even the things I provide for you. So what does he do? He goes and tosses him onto this wall with spikes. He is now there's no way he's going to get off those spikes. And he's like, yeah, we will never part again, Martin. We trust you get the point, freak fans. It's kind of it's be kind to your creepy brother week, right? So basically Martin is now stuck there in this horror, faced with his brother in the house. He's never leaving, and the Lord only knows what kind of horror is going to be facing him in the future, right? So pretty cool story. So next we have the next story, which is called The Eye of the Cyclops. So basically we're going back to like almost kind of like Sinbad days, right? So here you have the fleet of Greek merchant vessels had sailed over the Mediterranean seeking trade and profit in lands rarely visited by nations pretending to civilization. Yet upon a small isle amid uncharted waters, they found something very different: a giant cyclops. So basically, as the ships go into the cove, Cyclops comes out, right? Starts throwing rocks at the ships, starts overturning the ships, and starts grabbing the sailors and whatnot and putting them into a big bag. Meanwhile, two of the head guys, they're able to get to safety. They're kind of watching all this going on. They're like, so the one guy who's kind of chicken shit, right? He's like, we need to leave. We can't save them. What are we going to do? That's the Cyclops. There's nothing we can do. And the other guy's like, no, we need to do whatever we can do to save our friends and our colleagues, right? So they follow the Cyclops, who's got like a whole bunch of the sailors in a big bag, and they follow him up the mountain to his lair. And of course, in his lair, what is he doing? He's sitting down in front of a fire. He's got a spit going, and he's roasting the men one by one, because that's basically what he eats. Now, you'll notice that the Cyclops, if you look closely, he's got this weird kind of like little monkey creature on his back, right? That's like his little pet or a little friend or whatever. Monkey creature doesn't really do anything, but he's always there. So the two guys, mainly the head guy, kind of devise a plan. They're like, we've got to do whatever we can do to save the rest of the men, right? So they go crawl up the mountain up above where the cave is, and they wait for the next morning for the Cyclops to come out, and they push a whole bunch of boulders down, hoping to crush and kill him, and he's basically yawning, reaches up, swings his arm, destroys all the rocks that are coming down. So it's like, where did all this come from? And so he looks up, he says to his pet, he goes, oh, look, more meals up ahead, let's go get them. So what does he do? He turns around, runs up, grabs them. Next panel, he's puts them in the cage with the rest of them. He goes and takes out one of the other men for his little morning snack, right? So they're sitting in horror, awaiting their death, right? So, but the one head guy, the smart guy, he has a plan, right? It's like, well, we're gonna break out of here. So next time he comes to grab one of us, we're gonna sneak out, and we got to kill the Cyclops. So that's kind of what happens here. So they sneak out. He grabs the spineless guy, and the guy's like, oh, but look behind you, save my life, look behind you, they're escaping. So the one guy, the head guy, goes, he grabs like a stake, throws it into the Cyclops' eye, Cyclops screaming in pain. So the guy's like, all right, we've blinded him, we should be set to go, let's go escape. But then all of a sudden, as they're trying to leave, the Cyclops is following them. And they're like, but this can't be. How can you, he's coming down the mountain. How could, but I stuck the thing in your eye. You should be blind, whatever. And the Cyclops goes, tisk, 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 that's what happens when you don't know the whole story. You don't understand that a person who came here once before tried the exact same thing. So that eye you see was a glass eye. You see this little monkey, my friend on my back? He is my eye. So he's basically, so I don't need an eye on my forehead anymore. He is my eye, so I'm not blind at all. And he goes and grabs him, crushes him. The moral of the story is never believe what you see, because that all-seeing eye, what you think is there, may not be the eyes at all, right? Kind of fun, silly little story. All right, so here we have He Who Laughs Last is Grotesque, art by Mike Royer, story by Alan Hewitson. This is basically a story of kind of like an evil baron who, after years of atrocities, the townspeople that he rules over finally decide they have had enough. They storm the castle. They take him. They burn him at the stake. He goes and descends into hell. And here you see all the other people in hell. And he's like, all right, how do I get... All right, so I got a long line here. I got to go talk to the guy who's in charge down here because I got to get out of here. I got to go get my revenge on all these people who put me here and whatnot. So he's behind all these people. We got Playboy Bunny and Ninja and absolutely ridiculous stuff, right? These are all the people in hell, right? So, but he wants his vengeance. He's got to talk to the man. So he waits in line. Finally, he gets to talk to the man. And who is the man, you might ask? Well, of course, he's Satan himself, right? So he's kind of pleading his case. Satan's like, but I've served you so well. I've been evil all my life. It's like, why can't you do this to me? And he's just like, you may as well forget it. That's too bad. Everybody's evil. I'm not going to give you anything different than anybody else, right? And basically the guy, and this is a weird one because there's a terrible ending, right? So it's just, he's sitting there talking to cousin Eerie, and he's like, it's like, yeah, this guy's complaining all he wants, but he's just going to sit here. I'm going to leave him here in hell, and he's just going to go mad. His own personal hell is going to be here. So in other words, you're here for a reason, and you're staying here. And the guy's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to go crazy here in hell, and that's kind of the end of the story. So that's kind of a lame one. However, this next one is pretty cool. So here we have a story of three people. They're in a spaceship. They've run out of fuel, and they're just drifting. And they've been drifting for months. They now have run out of food. They're all starving. So one of the guys says, you know what? I got to live. So my two colleagues here, a guy and a lady and a guy, he's like, I gotta eat. So what does he do? He shoots them both. And yeah, he does that. So then that's the prologue. So then this is called Food for Thought. So then we fast forward a couple months, a couple weeks, whatever. So he's going out of his mind, this dude. And then you see the skeletons of the lady and the guy behind him. And he's thinking, I probably shouldn't have eaten them all so quickly because now here we are. I'm starving again. I'm going mad, whatever. But then he notices, he looks through the monitor thing, and he sees like a planet nearby. And he goes, you know what? I think we have just enough fuel to maybe get us down to that planet. So what does he do? He does that, notices there's plant life all over the place. And he's like, oh, amazing, food. He notices that there's oxygen in the atmosphere. How does he know that from inside the spaceship? I don't know, but that's what he says. So he's all excited. So he lands, crawls outside. He goes, look at all this growth. There's food everywhere. We can eat like kings. But yet he's so out of his mind that he's still talking to the two dead ones, the two skeletons. We can come out. We can eat like kings. We're going to be great. We'll be able to live here, whatever. So he goes out, finds some berries. He starts eating berries, but then he hears, like, every berry he eats, he hears like a scream. And he's thinking, the berry can't be screaming, or maybe I'm just in my mind. I'm hearing the girl scream when I had to shoot her and kill her and eat her, right? So as he's doing that, he's eating berries, and all of a sudden, these vines start closing in around his legs. He gets captured by this giant plant. The plant grabs him, swallows him whole, alive, and as all the digestive juices start to eat away at him, Cousin Eerie says, and on that nauseating note, I'll leave you readers to digest this terror tidbit while the plant does the same to our hero. So the only difference here between him and the plant is that at least he killed his two comrades before he ate them. Here, the plant just ate him whole, and that's that. So he's sitting there. So now you can see he is all skeleton inside the gullet of the plant. So that's kind of a kooky little story, but kind of funny. Then we have the cover, okay, which is basically the vow of the wizard. So here's this kind of like a Conan the Barbarian type of thing. So you've got like this warrior who's out to get revenge on this wizard. He is actually, he's got this lady that he kind of stole from the wizard, right? But he wants to go, and he's got to go on this quest to go kill the lizard. We've got some nudity here and everything like that. So this is not for the kids, this one here. Lots of naked women in this. So he goes on this quest, and this is, I didn't let you know who wrote and drew this one. So this is penciled art and story by Ernie Colon, inking by Frank McLaughlin. So he goes out in the desert, goes on this quest, runs into all these creatures, one by one, kills them all. Okay, then he comes to this strange, like, winged harpy comes at him, does a job on him, starts scraping him up and everything, but eventually he kills the harpy as well, continues on his quest. Then he finally stumbles upon the wizard that he's been looking for, and he's like, now that I've found you, I am going to kill you. He goes, I'm going to have revenge. And the wizard says, revenge, warrior, but I have had my revenge. He goes, what? Has your mind enfeebled itself? No, mighty warrior, I say I have kept my vow of revenge. You see the winged beast you slew was Arella, the beauteous one you took from me. I changed Arella into that beast, and you slew her. You slew Arella, O mighty warrior. Ha 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 ha. So of course, so the woman that the warrior stole from the wizard that he fell in love with, the wizard then turned the girl into this harpy that he wound up killing. So now who gets revenge in the end? Not the warrior, right? So yeah. And then here we have another, The Sound of Wings. This is Carlos Garzón story, Paul Wilson art. So this is here you have these kind of scientists and archaeologists who are out in the desert. They find this book. Okay, they go and read the book, and it's like this kind of journal. And in the journal, it talks about this dude who, his daughter was going to get married to this guy that he was not a fan of, and he wanted to figure a way to get rid of him so he could not marry his daughter. So he went and found this whole ancient scripture where you can do a spell. So he found this book, do like this spell where you can conjure up and create this kind of like creature to go in actual, because he couldn't kill the guy, right? He wanted the guy out of his daughter's life, but he couldn't do it, so he wanted to go kind of create something that would do it for him. And so apparently he did that, created this giant winged creature, and then they found his future son-in-law dead. But after that happened, he goes, his daughter is like beside herself, but now she's got this weird mark of like a bird claw on her face. And he goes, oh my God, that's the sign of the Rockhead Moor. A death for a death. I must kill the one who carries the mark. So he didn't realize that after he went and looked back at all the information in the book, that after you conjured up this creature to kill someone you wanted, it's like a death for a death. Now someone you know and love has to die as well. So he's like, I can't, there's no way I can do that. Let me go run off into the desert. There's no way I'm going to do that. So he goes off into the desert, and then as we see, something obviously happens here. The immensity blots out the sky as it descends upon me, and that's kind of the last thing he writes down in the book. And then, of course, the two explorers, that's the last thing they see. So they're like, but there's weird, because that's the last thing he wrote in the book. There's like, there's blood around here in the sand, whatever, and then you get the helicopter view, and basically what is there? It's a giant footprint of a humongous killer bird, right? So that's what's down here. So, interesting. It's either a prank or the diary of a madman. Yeah, it's not a diary of a madman. So, and here we got a bunch of pages of great ads. The ads in these are just awesome if you're into like monster stuff. So here we'll see, we got some old monsters magazines. Here's a whole bunch of ads for Creepy. These are just awesome. I have a few of these. And then after that, we've got some Vampirella stuff and more ads for Eerie. These Warren mags just are so much fun to read. And then we've got more fan letters and things and fan drawings and stuff. Very cool. And what else we got here? More Vampirella plastic hobby kit stuff, Flash Gordon stuff. Additional Venus flytraps, all sorts of other stuff like toys and dog whistles and army things, and here we have the lair of the horned men. So basically this is a story about an Indian tribe. Okay, you got an Indian warrior, and you have like an old medicine man who actually wants to be the leader of the tribe. So he sends the warrior out on a this Alan Weiss did the story in the art. He sends him out on a mission. He says that there's a weird woman out in the woods by herself. Not sure. You got to go and find out what's going on with that. So he does, and he goes upon this kind of ridge over a river where this tree is kind of like created like a bridge, and there he sees the woman. Of course, the naked woman there. So he goes up to try and see what's going on, but there's this weird like horn beast man that's like going after the woman. So he goes up to the bridge, he attacks the beast, gets into a fight with him. All right, he's like, oh, hopefully I can save the girl and whatever. So he gets into a fight with this beast and winds up killing him. So then he goes to talk to the woman, and as it turns out, the woman, the girl, is actually the daughter of the medicine man. So he did this whole plot to trap the warrior out there. And his whole thing is he has this way he's been able to create these man beasts out of like merging animals and men. That's how he created that creature right there. So what does he do? He turns around and does the exact same thing to his daughter, and she turns into like this she snake. And then he's got this like wolf man that he's already created. So he sends the wolf man after the warrior. Warrior kills the wolf man. Then the medicine man shoots an arrow, one of the guy's own arrows, into him, thinking he's going to kill him, right? So now he's like, I'm going to kill you now. I will then be the tribal chief, whatever. But then, of course, the daughter, who's now all pissed off what happened to her, she goes and she bites and kills dear daddy. He dies. Once he dies, now the power over her is no longer there. So she changes back into a regular person, and the warrior lives, and they will live happily ever after. All right. The nation's #1 beast-selling paperback. First time in paperback. The Best of Creepy, right? And on the back, we got a little ad for Aurora models, the Frankenstein model kit. Very cool stuff. So there you have it. Issue number 34 from 1971 of Eerie from Warren Publishing. Hope you like this one. If you've ever read this one, let us know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, if it's something you think you got to have, and if you've been watching all these shows we've been doing on the Eerie books, Eerie magazines, I should say, Eerie and Creepy and Vampirella, and you haven't gone out to try and get some of these, you really should, because they're pretty inexpensive out there in the wild, so they're pretty easy to get. And like you see, these are great. This is in great shape. Great shape for a comic that's so old like it is. So anyway, thanks for watching. Please subscribe if you haven't already and click on that notification bell so you get alert of all of our content as it posts. And please do hit the like button before you leave. And we'll see you here on Comic Book Geezers with more stuff in just a couple days. So for Wild Bill, I am P. Pardo. Thanks for watching, everybody. See you real soon. Please hit the like button before you leave. Take care. Bye-bye.